For 3 years, I've been married to someone I deeply care about. When we first met, everything seemed perfect. Our love felt like something straight out of a movie. We built our life together, filled with plans, ambitions, and the quiet understanding that we would grow old side by side. But life, as it often does, throws curveballs that challenge even the strongest of bonds. It was during our engagement that I first met her, the younger sister of my wife. From the moment our eyes met, there was an undeniable tension. She was stunning, with an air of confidence that drew people in. And somehow, I found myself unable to shake off the fleeting thoughts that entered my mind. At first, I brushed them aside, knowing better than to entertain such fleeting desires. But the heart is not always so easily controlled. Over time, the situation grew more complicated. There were moments, innocent on the surface, that seemed to blur the lines. Conversations would linger longer than they should, a casual touch here or there, moments that made me question my own resolve. Her presence became an unspoken challenge, a test of my character, and every time I looked at her, I felt the weight of my commitment to my wife. Still, I stayed disciplined. I reminded myself daily that these were just natural emotions, not something to act on. After all, love isn't just about feeling passion. It's about commitment, respect, and honor. I told myself this over and over, as I worked hard to push aside any thoughts that threatened to derail my marriage. But nature, it seems, doesn't give up so easily. Over the months, my wife's sister started to cross subtle boundaries. A compliment here, a joke there, moments that seemed innocent, but felt like a silent invitation. I found myself grappling with an internal battle, torn between what I wanted and what I knew was right. One afternoon, while my wife was in another room, I found myself alone with her sister. She leaned in to kiss me on the cheek, and in that moment, everything seemed to shift. I froze. The shock of it lingered in my body, my mind racing with what was happening and why I couldn't pull away. Before I could process, the kiss escalated, leaving me breathless and confused. What had just happened? How could I let this go on? It was a moment of weakness, I told myself later. A brief lapse in judgment, a fleeting mistake. But the feelings lingered, and every time she looked at me, I saw something more, something I was desperately trying to ignore. She made her intentions clear, and I found myself questioning my own limits. How long could I control these feelings? How long could I resist the temptation? But I knew I had to fight. For the sake of my marriage, for the love I had for my wife, I had to resist. It wasn't just about the physical attraction, it was about my integrity, my commitment, and the values I had built my life on. Each day was a challenge. Every time I saw her, the desire resurfaced, but I reminded myself of the consequences. I loved my wife, and nothing, no fleeting attraction, was worth sacrificing that. I pushed those thoughts aside, always reminding myself that true strength lies in self-control and honoring the promises I had made. Temptation doesn't vanish overnight, and sometimes, the battle within feels almost too much to bear. Every time she was in the room, I felt like I was standing at the edge of a cliff, fighting not to fall. My wife, blissfully unaware, continued to welcome her sister into our home, unaware of the storm that raged inside me. I wanted to tell her, to confess, but what would that accomplish? Hurting her would serve no purpose other than to ease my guilt. The problem wasn't just my attraction, it was that she saw it too. My wife's sister knew exactly what she was doing, and I wasn't sure if she enjoyed the thrill of the chase or genuinely wanted something more. She would find ways to be close to me when my wife wasn't looking, brushing her fingers against mine when passing something at dinner, holding eye contact just a second too long, finding excuses to sit next to me. And every single time, my mind screamed at me to stop this before it was too late. One evening, we were left alone again. My wife had gone to take a shower, leaving us in the dimly lit living room. She sat across from me, her eyes locking onto mine with an intensity that made my chest tighten. She didn't say anything at first, just studied me, as if waiting to see if I would break the silence. "You don't have to keep pretending," she finally said, her voice soft but filled with meaning. I swallowed hard. "Pretending what?" "That you don't feel it," she whispered. The words sent a jolt through my body, but I forced myself to stay composed. I let out a small chuckle, shaking my head. "You're mistaken." She tilted her head, studying me, unconvinced. "Am I?" I should have gotten up and left the room right then and there. I should have shut this down months ago. But I sat there, frozen, knowing that this was the moment of truth. If I said nothing, if I hesitated for even a second, it would be taken as an invitation. I had to be firm. So I took a deep breath, looked her in the eyes, and said, "I love my wife." A flicker of disappointment crossed her face, but she recovered quickly, offering a small smirk. "I know," she said simply, as if that made it all the more intriguing. Before my wife could return, I excused myself and went straight to our bedroom, shutting the door behind me. I ran a hand through my hair, exhaling sharply. My heart was still racing. This had to stop. I couldn't let this continue, not even in my mind. That night, I lay in bed beside my wife, listening to her steady breathing, and I made a decision. I had to put distance between myself and her sister. No more lingering conversations. No more stolen glances. No more of this dangerous game we were playing. The struggle wasn't just about resisting her, it was about staying true to myself. I wasn't going to throw away the love and trust one had built with my wife over a moment of weakness. The next day, I spoke to my wife. I didn't tell her the full truth, but I made it clear that I was uncomfortable with how much time her sister spent with us. I told her that I thought some boundaries needed to be set. She seemed surprised but respected my feelings, agreeing to subtly create some distance. It wasn't a perfect solution, but it was a step in the right direction. Temptation would always exist, in one form or another. But at the end of the day, it wasn't temptation that defined me, it was my choices. And I had made mine. My marriage mattered more. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to Snag the Story for more intense, real-life dilemmas and shocking Reddit stories.